Donald Trump seems to believe that if he can't see his problems, they don't actually exist. We often compare his behavior to that of a child, and in this case, his lack of accountability proves it. Whether it's the ongoing investigations, negative polling, or the government shutdown that his administration continues to mishandle, Trump's strategy appears to be simple: ignore it and hope it disappears. But that approach isn't working. Earlier today, he shared a statement online that quickly backfired, drawing even more attention to the very problems he's trying to avoid. Everything surrounding this government shutdown, which most Americans recognize as his responsibility, is now unraveling around him. We're going to break down exactly what's happening and why his message failed so badly. But before we get into that, please take a quick moment to leave a like on this video. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. It really helps us continue bringing you this coverage. Now, let's start with a clip that shows one of the main reasons Donald Trump is avoiding the spotlight today. Something that Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene said just moments ago.
I've been in Washington all week, and I've been at my office. I've been in the Capitol. There's two things I couldn't find this week. I couldn't find anywhere the Epstein files, and I also couldn't find the Republican plan to fix the absolutely destroyed health insurance industry that got wiped out in 2015 with Obamacare.
Yeah.
Like, those are the two things I can't find. And when Republicans, and I'm criticizing also Congress big time. I'm really grateful to a lot of the things the president is doing, but I'm really upset with the direction Congress is going. But when we are not doing anything to address the cost of living, we aren't doing anything about Blackstone buying up houses where most young people can't find a house and they're having to compete in bidding wars.
Right.
And we're not doing anything about health insurance premiums. Then for the love of God, what are we doing?
Right.
It's not just Donald Trump hiding from accountability. The entire Republican Party seems to be in the political version of witness protection. Many of them are running scared because they know they're trapped between two bad choices. On one hand, their policies continue to make life harder for everyday Americans, driving up the cost of living and threatening access to affordable health care in one of the wealthiest countries on earth, where basic medical care should be a guaranteed right. And on the other hand, the ongoing government shutdown, which they refuse to end, is making them even more unpopular by the day. Every moment it drags on, the public sees more clearly who's responsible. That's why Republicans are avoiding the spotlight and why videos like this one are hitting so hard right now.
Take a step aside here. There is quite a bit of military members and their families in line because of this government shutdown. We're in day 9 of it, and they're here for a food pantry. There's all sorts of food that is available, and I spoke with some military member spouses, and I spoke with some department heads here at the ASYMCA on why this is so important. What's the difference in the amount of people that you've seen from today to previously?
So when we first started coming, there definitely wasn't this amount of people. It was a lot, but it wasn't this amount to where it wrapped around the building. But lately it has been a lot. Like, we were here last week and we were in line for like 2 hours.
In a normal week, we usually run out of food about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Last week, we ran out of food about 10:30.
Military families at food banks because of Republicans who, if they actually did vote to continue to fund the government, their policies are still going to be hurtful to military families, still going to be hurtful to those who have served our nation and now have ailments because of that service. That Republicans don't want them to be able to have traded because they don't care. Like, that's it. I'd also say maybe we could take some of that money that we send over to Israel every year and make sure that our troops are actually taken care of, but that's a different story. The story today is that Donald Trump is trying to hide from videos like this, and he thought he could post his way out of it. So before we get to how he was rushed away, let's start with that post. Trump attacks Dems as he promises to pay our troops this week. Donald Trump vowed in a Truth Social post to pay out troops during the current government shutdown that he blamed on Democratic leadership. Chuck Schumer recently said every day gets better during their radical left shutdown. I disagree, Trump posted on Saturday. If nothing is done because of leader Chuck Schumer and the Democrats, our brave troops will miss the paycheck they are rightfully due on October 15th. Trump continued, "That is why I am using my authority as Commander-in-Chief to direct our Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, to use all available funds to get our troops paid on October 15th. Trump says, "I will not allow the Democrats to hold our military and the entire security of our nation hostage." Trump began implementing mass layoffs of workers on Democrat programs as punishment for the government shutdown, though the recommendation of Russell V.A., the director of the Office of Management and Budget. Democrats, of course, have refused to budge on stalled continuing resolutions unless Republicans agree to back off coming cuts to the Affordable Care Act and Medicaid. Republicans are accusing falsely the Democrats of wanting health care for undocumented immigrants. And while all hell was breaking loose and Donald Trump said he was working for the troops, what was he actually doing? Well, Trump 79 was spending the second shutdown weekend golfing. Donald Trump treated himself to a round of golf on Saturday morning while the government remains shut down and federal workers are getting axed by his budget goon Russ. With 750,000 federal workers furloughed and dozens of CDC employees laid off overnight, Trump traveled to his Virginia golf club and arrived just after 10 a.m. It is the second straight weekend during the shutdown that Trump has taken a few hours to himself to hit the links. Trump's golf trip continues his habit of not letting any national crisis, no matter the stakes, get in the way of his golf game. During his second term, Trump golfed as the stock markets plunged in response to his tariff announcements. He also enjoyed a little golfing in July while Texas suffered from flash floods. That recent video showing military families at a food bank went incredibly viral. And for good reason. It showed the real impact of policies coming out of Washington. But instead of addressing what's actually affecting people, Donald Trump chose to focus on blaming Democrats for the government shutdown. Let's remember, during his time in office, Trump pushed for cuts at the VA and made it harder for veterans to access care. And it wasn't long ago that nearly every Republican voted against the PACT Act, the very legislation meant to help veterans exposed to toxic burn pits get the medical treatment they deserve. These are the same men and women who served this country, yet their needs are constantly dismissed. So when Trump tries to blame others, it doesn't hold up, especially since the numbers show that undocumented workers actually contribute billions in taxes every year to programs like Medicare and Social Security, programs they can't even access. Meanwhile, the people truly benefiting from the system are the ultra-wealthy. Billionaires like Elon Musk and Larry Ellison, whose focus remains on power and profit, not public well-being. Ellison, for instance, has been expanding his influence in the media landscape through massive acquisitions, including talks around TikTok. Critics argue that this kind of consolidation isn't just about business. It's about controlling narratives that shape public opinion. And when we look globally, leaders like Trump and Netanyahu both seem determined to act without accountability, often prioritizing image and control over justice and transparency. That's why movements like the No Kings protest are gaining momentum again this October 18th, standing up against corruption, abuse of power, and leaders who believe they're above the law. Let's take a closer look at that movement right here.
The October 18th protests they are referring to are the No Kings protests. Funny how they left the name out of that one. You may remember there were also No Kings protests across the country this past June when millions of people in cities and towns across the country showed up to speak out against Trump and this administration. Faced with another round of those massive protests, Trump and his allies are arguing that if you engage in your uniquely American right to protest, then you are un-American. If you speak out against Trump, then you hate America. Now that is un-American. But the fact that those on the right are desperately trying to delegitimize protesters is a sign of how afraid they are of what Americans have to say. On October 18th, nearly 2,500 No Kings protests are scheduled to take place across the country. That means that potentially hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, will take to the streets to protest the Trump administration. And like they did back in June during the first No Kings rally, when at least 4 million people, more than that, were out in full force. And since then, there's been a near constant stream of protests against everything from Trump's heartless immigration raids to Republican plans to gut health care for millions of Americans. And instead of, listening to them, Republicans are now trying to demonize these protesters by saying the upcoming No Kings protest is a hate America rally that will promote terrorism, which is an absolutely insane thing to say. These rallygoers are doing one of the most American things possible, utilizing their right to peacefully protest. And then if it's anything like the last No Kings protest, it will probably look a whole lot like this scene from Memphis. Joining me now is Tennessee State Representative Justin J. Pearson, who plans to speak at the upcoming No Kings protest in Memphis. And just this week, he launched a campaign for Congress against his former boss, Congressman Steve Cohen. It's great to see you. I've been thinking a lot about this moment, as I'm sure you have, as you're preparing to speak at this No Kings protest, and how it kind of harkens back to the civil rights movement, when supporters of Martin Luther King Jr. and of nonviolent protest groups were wrongfully accused of provoking violence by the FBI and police, as well as white supremacist groups, in an effort to justify violent crowds. History repeats, as they say. But how are you thinking about that history as you reflect on what you're going to say when you speak on October 18th?
I'll be honest with you all. Lately, this month especially, I've been feeling a bit down. The news has been heavy, and it's easy to let it weigh you down. I didn't even feel like recording today at first, but being here with all of you always lifts my spirit. That sense of community matters. It really does. We need connection right now. We need energy, compassion, and solidarity. And that's why I'm genuinely looking forward to seeing everyone at the No Kings protest in D.C. Take the day, enjoy it, and be around people who care about the same things you do. It'll recharge you, I promise. If you see me there, don't hesitate to come say hi. I'm pretty easy to spot, kinda tall, and I always love meeting folks in person. It means the world when you do. Also, I've got some exciting news. I've officially joined the Bulwark as a host for their weekend programming. You can check out my first conversation with Tim. The video link will be right up there. And as always, if you want to support the show, hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and if you made it this far, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I will see you soon.